Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. I'm going a little bit early, about 30 seconds early, because just when I thought I was done today, I'd already done 2 shows. I'd been on I was on TJ's show earlier, 3 shows total. Here we go with Mark Stoops and Josh Heupel. The Mark Stoops thing doesn't completely shock me. The Josh Heupel thing, I was feeling good about Heupel. We had gotten past LSU, which was the big fear. And I know they had talked about Summerall and all that, but LSU's the type of team that can go and get what they want. And Florida is too. So they were out of the way. I'd kind of forgotten about Penn State because they've been so quiet over there on the sidelines. And then they popped up for Josh Heupel, which we'll talk about in a minute. But let's talk about the more pressing thing that is, I think, pretty much going to happen. And that's Mark Stoops appears to be getting fired tomorrow. Let me show you that. This is from really good sources. Let's see. Yeah, this is on 3. It says Kentucky is firing head coach, and that's according to Chris Lowe and Pete Nakos. So that's, folks, that's as close to a given as it gets. And, man, I'm telling you, this last game killed him. It really, really hurt him. Here's the problem. This is the 2nd year in a row that Louisville has kicked the living crap out of Kentucky. It was 41-0 yesterday, Louisville over Kentucky. And that's their in-state rival, and that's bragging rights, and that just cuts to the quick, honestly. And they had lost 41-14 the year before. So that's what, 82-14 over 2 years. And he'd gone 4-8 2 years ago and 5-7 this year. And I thought after he beat up on Florida that, there'd be some grace there, that he would survive this season. He'd get to 5, maybe 6 games, but he lost the last 2 there. And it was time for him to go, I guess. Now they're going to have to pay him $37 million. And he had said that he wouldn't go for anything less than, he wasn't going to leave. So there might be a mitigation situation in there to where if he takes another job, that would mitigate it some. So he might be willing to leave for 25 or 30 or something like that. But I guess that was just too humiliating a loss for Kentucky to survive 2 years in a row, and they just couldn't take it. I really thought they would wait a year and fire him next year because this is a terrible time to be firing anybody. It's a terrible time. I mean, Penn State, that's why they're coming after Josh, and we'll talk about that. But this is not good. They're in a terrible hiring environment. And Summerall was their guy. I think he was a Kentucky alumni, and he's gone. He's going to Florida. So I don't get it. I just don't get it. What happened there? Very surprised that he's being fired. And that's, like I say, that's coming from Pete Nakos and Chris Lowe, which is, folks, that's as credible as it gets right there. I mean, I'll show it to you again for you if you're just coming in here and seeing this. Yeah, just, that's Kentucky is breaking. This is on 3, not some parody account. On 3, Kentucky is firing head coach Mark Stoops. At Chris Lowe. Let's see what Chris Lowe's saying about it. If it'll pop in here. Stoops was never going to walk away on his own, but when Kentucky approached him about a separation, he said he'd be willing to negotiate an agreement allowing Kentucky to spread out payments over a number of years instead of paying $38 million buyout within 60 days. So Stoops has had it. He's done. I was thinking he was getting tired of it. So there may be mitigation in that, may not. Let's see, Chris Lowe, the last few years weren't what anybody at Kentucky football wanted, including Stoops, but he built that program. And, yeah, they won 10 games in 18 and 21. But here's the problem, folks, and we all know it. Kentucky basketball is what's king in Kentucky, and that $20.5 million revenue sharing, it's not going to the football. It's going to basketball. They spent over $20 million on their basketball team this year. They didn't spend anywhere near that on their football team. So he saw that. He probably watched my videos where Kentucky basketball was his daddy. That's probably what happened. I'll bet you anything he did. But yeah, I think he's as gone as it gets. And I think that's good for him and good for Kentucky. I mean, it's a lot of money to pay, but the game has changed too much for him. It's a money game now, and he's on the losing side of it. All the money's going to go to basketball. It's not going to go to football. You've got to get a young guy that's hungry in there that can – Alex Golish would have been a great get for them, but he's gone. He's going to Auburn. First he was going to Arkansas. Now he's going to Auburn. That would have been a massive get. John Summerall would have been a great get for them. He's gone. They're firing him too late. I'm not seeing it here, Lloyd. This is not good. Well, who do you think who are you going to get, Kentucky? That's the problem that I see. And you should have fired him next year, honestly, but I guess you just look, when you get beat 41-0 by the team that you don't like, and it's in your home state, I guess that was just too much. So now we got to talk about the serious problem. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a nightmare, and that is one Josh Heupel. Now, I had been concerned about LSU, as we talked about, and there was rumors that he was on their hot board, which is smart. When you lead the SEC in offensive scoring, that's going to happen, okay? And he's done it multiple times. So Penn State fired their guy first, and they're the last to hire, I guess. And Penn State is a linear move. Okay, Tennessee's about right here. Penn State's a really good program, and they got it built up pretty well. So it's a kind of a linear move in the whole rankings of everything. They've got similar amount of money. Penn State and Tennessee, very similar amount of money. So I can see them definitely going after him. Now, Happy Valley, it sounds happy, and it's a nice place, but it's a very small place. And I don't know that Josh Heupel wants to live there. It's cold as crap up there, too, by the way, if you want to live up there in the freezing cold. But I'd say Tennessee can certainly match anything Penn State offers. And I kind of knew, I've told y'all multiple times, we're probably going to have to give Heupel a raise. This is the craziness of what's going on here, okay? James Franklin, they shouldn't have fired him. They should not have fired him. I'd say they're regretting it at this point because they thought, we're Penn State now. We made it to the semifinals. We've won 33 games in the last 3 years with James Franklin. But guess what? It's not that appetizing a school. It's a good school. It's a great school, but there's some limitations. You're not on the LSU Florida level. And I'm being very gracious putting you on a similar level to Tennessee. I'm being very gracious to you right now. So I don't like that he's being talked about as a possibility. And I'll show you this on Kalshi and what's going on to all of this. Let's see where we're at right now. Let's see. Yeah, Josh Heupel. Okay, now this is changing rapidly, folks. This is changing so fast. It's crazy. Let me pull up here. This is really changing. Wow. And this could change a lot over the next 24 hours. At one point, Josh Heupel was like right up there. And now it looks like the BYU coach is at 49%. It was like 20 and 17. I mean, it was close. It's jumped a bunch in the last little bit. Wow. I mean, that has jumped a ton. And now Bob Chesney's jumped a ton. Man, look at that. So now Josh Heupel's in third place, which is, look, I want him off this board. He wasn't even on this board. He's up 16. He was at 1%. Now Josh Heupel's at 17. So, and again, realize this is just what people think. So this could boomerang real quick either way. But I don't want him on that list at all. So hopefully Penn State hires somebody very quickly, because that's the only threat left out there. LSU was a huge threat. Florida, I don't know. I don't know if they would have wanted a Tennessee coach. They're weird down there about stuff like that. It'd have been a great hire for them because they can't score for anything. giggity. But Tennessee, that's the one thing we can do. Our defense stunk up the joint this year. It absolutely was terrible. But my concern is this. We've already lost our national championship baseball team coach in Vitello. And I don't want to be this way about Josh Heupel, but this would be the worst time in the world to lose Heupel. I mean, this would be a freaking nightmare. There is nobody out there that would bring any sizzle to the game. There's nobody, okay? I mean, the only person you could bring in that would be a sexy hire brings a ton of political baggage with him, and that's Gruden, who's never coached in college, basically. So he's kind of a no-go. And after that, there's nothing out there. I mean, as far as anybody that we'd be happy with, it wouldn't happen. And we'd be just like this with Heupel, just like we were with Vitello.
No. No.
Yeah, that's let me tell you something. That's exactly what it would be like if Heupel left. Everybody's like, oh, well, we lost the game against Vanderbilt, 8-4, which is really his first bad year in the last 4. And 8-4 is not a bad year, folks. It's just not, especially in the SEC. So we cannot lose Heupel. We just can't. And that was my concern. Thank goodness it's not LSU or Florida coming after him. I think we can fend off Penn State, but we need to get him inked. Well, here's one other thing. I already looked it up. He's signed through 2030, but that doesn't mean anything. It's how much you got to pay to get out of that contract, as far as if Tennessee let him go, which we're not going to do, of course. But if he wants to leave, it's $8 million. So Penn State would have to come up with $8 million to buy him out of that contract, or Heupel would have to. So that's a bit of a problem. Okay, $8 million's it's not nothing. And BYU coach and the Bob Chesney guy, they're not going to be at the $8 million mark. It's probably half or less of that. So there is that positivity out there that, that $8 million protects you a little bit. That's probably why Danny White does not want to lose Josh Heupel. I promise you that. That would be, I don't know what Penn State would. I'm worried they might get desperate, though. They should not have. I promise you, Penn State wishes they had not fired James Franklin right now. They're looking around going, man, this did not go how we thought it would. They probably thought they had a shot at Lane Kiffin or some other coach that was, fired up, and they made an emotional decision because they lost 2 games that he shouldn't have lost. The guy's averaged 11 wins the last 3 years. I was blown away that they fired him. You give the guy, you're allowed to have 1 off year out of 4 or 5 in college football. And I know they were ranked at number 1 at one time, but sometimes things just go awry. And I would have let him rebuild it because, look, a bunch of those Penn State recruits decommitted. He is loved by his players. He is a player's coach. I've told this multiple times. Blue Chip Breakdown, Bullen P played for him at Vanderbilt and said that he's a great guy, that the players loved him, and they'd have run through a brick wall for him. And that's big, especially in 2025. They should not have fired James Franklin. Now it's a problem for us. Hopefully, here's the thing. It's going to get resolved fairly quickly. Hopefully, we don't want this to drag out. We want them to hire. Let me pull this back up. Yeah, let's see what we've got here. Let me bring that a little bit bigger so you can see it. I didn't realize how small that actually was, I guess. Yeah, right here. Josh Heupel's gone from 1 to 17%. And I told you it keeps jumping around. See, the guy from BYU was all the way up to 49. Now he's down to 29. So now it's, this is how this works. It's Kalshi. This is rumors and people talking and doing all this stuff. And it's a concern because a lot of times people are putting money up. Okay. So if somebody's got an inside scoop, they can make a lot of money on that. So it's a little bit dangerous. If you start seeing that number jump up, you should be concerned. Now I'm going to pull up another story here. This is right there. It is linked. Yeah, Heupel's linked. And, of course, a lot of that has to do with the prediction markets and all that. But the Nittany Lions, I think They made a mistake, and now they're trying to find somebody to save them, okay? That's what it boils down to. The BYU coach would be a good hire for them. This Brian Diablo guy, currently a leading candidate, the New York Giants coach. So, going pro. I think this happens a lot with schools that are, kind of up there, but they overemphasize the demand that they think people will have for Penn State. It's cold as crap up there. It's a very small town, Happy Valley, and it's not so happy up there right now. And they came this close to the brass ring, and they couldn't get past Ohio State. They couldn't get past just this last little thing. And they're like, gosh, if we just get rid of him. No, he's the guy that got you there. He got you to the brass ring, and you're thinking he's keeping you from getting it. Wrong, wrong, wrong. He's not the guy that's keeping you from getting it. He's the guy that got you there. And you crapped on him, and very foolishly, in my opinion. So I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. And it's because what option do we have if Heupel leaves? And this is what happened. This is the same crap that happened to FSU about 2 years ago. You remember when FSU had Mike Norvell, and they had to wind up paying a bunch of money because Alabama came calling, knocking on the door, and FSU was like, crap, we can't let him go. He just went 13-0. Now, fortunately for us, Heupel has done really well. He's coached really well for 5 years. He's not been like this. Like Norvell has been like that. All right. Heupel's not. Heupel's been very steady, winning 9-10 games a year for the last 4. I mean, if he wins the bowl game this year, we'll have won 39 in the last 4 years. That's really, really good. So, we don't need to lose him. And here's the other thing. Think how many teams, if you're down, let's say you're down on Heupel because we only won 8 games this year. We should have won the Georgia game and all of that. You know how many teams would love to have the number 1 offense in the conference? Florida, LSU. Well, LSU went and spent a fortune on Lane Kiffin because their offense sucks at LSU. Had Brian Kelly had a decent offense this year, he'd still be there. I mean, they went 7-5. It's not like they had a disastrous year, but they couldn't score. And scoring's important. You want to get a fan base down, don't score. So Florida fired their coach over. Auburn had any offense at all this year, Hugh Freeze would still be there. He had a great defense. I mean, you saw that against Alabama. They just can't score. They can't score any dadgum points. You got to be able to score. It's 2025. Defense doesn't win championships. It'll keep you in a championship and give you a chance, but you've got to score points. The whole game is set up for scoring. That's why you're constantly getting late hits on the quarterback. You're constantly getting the wide receivers. You can't touch them. There's pass interference all the time. They want you to score. The refs have been told, don't mess with the offense. Let them score. So having a guy that's leading the conference is huge. It's huge. And we need to protect that. We're going to have to give him a raise. That's obvious. And extend him. And, I don't mind doing that for him. He's making $9 million a year, which is fantastic money. But he's moving towards the middle of the conference with 9. It's just a fact. Probably going to have to take him to 10 because Eli Drinkwitz is at 10. And I would take Josh Heupel over Eli any day. And Eli's done great at Missouri, but the stand-on business guy, not so much. And he's already re-signed, so that's another guy that Penn State wanted and couldn't get, which tells me Penn State's not throwing big money out there. They're not doing anything stupid. They're not doing LSU, Florida money. They're not saying, we'll pay you 13, 14, 15 million. They're probably saying, we'll match 9, 9.5, 10. Probably 10. I'd say Penn State's offering around. Of course, if they go with the BYU guy, I don't think they'll have to pay that much, or they get the Giants guy. But anyway, I did want to cover these 2 stories. Stoops is gone. I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, it'll happen tomorrow. It'll be finalized tomorrow. But when you hear Chris Lowe and Pete Nakos come out with it, it's done. It's just done. This thing with Heupel, probably going to take about 24 to 48 hours to clear this up. Hopefully, Penn State hires somebody tomorrow. Monday's a good day to hire people. This Sunday thing has just been – this has all been lame. Lane held everything up. That's why everything's happening and crashing right now is because of Lane. And I told you Lane had a terrible meeting with Ole Miss. He wanted to stay and coach him for the playoffs. And I had an actual video clip of what happened in that meeting, which I showed earlier today. And this will probably sum up what happened with Lane and Ole Miss.
You don't talk to me like that. People are scared of me.
Why would anyone be scared of you? I hate you, you big fat turd.
Yeah, they can't stand him at Ole Miss. Tennessee fans, if you think you dislike Lane Kiffin, and we do, talk to Ole Miss fans right now. And it's going to get worse. And by the way, Lane is coming to Oxford, Mississippi next year with his LSU Tigers, and he's coming to Knoxville, Tennessee. So if you want to invest in something, French's mustard, that stock's going to. Anyway, wow, 1,800 people in here at 11 o'clock at night. What the crap? This just been a crazy weekend. And I thought I was done today, but then Josh Heupel and Mark Stoops. What do you do, folks? So I guess the firing will happen tomorrow. I don't know who Kentucky's going to get. I have no idea. And then Josh Heupel, we're just going to have to extend his contract another year or two and fend off Penn State. Hopefully they don't go after him too hard. I don't need that right now. I don't need that stress. And I know you don't either. Anyway, if you like this content, you know what to do. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay. Sorry I had to come out, emergency thing, but when they start popping Josh Heupel's name out there, I'm going to do so. And then Mark Stoops on top of it. I thought Stoops had, gotten through the storm. You can't lose 41-0 to your arch enemy, though. You just can't.